Hi BookTube, it's Stephanie. Today I'm going to talk to you about all the books that I read in April. And I have been pushing this video off because basically I felt sorry for myself. I twisted my ankle a couple of days ago and it's finally started to calm down. And then I don't want to talk about 14 books, but it just gets worse and worse if I just wait for it. So let's do this. So yeah, I finished 14 books in April and I completed all my owls with the last minute change, but I managed to do it. So I'm gonna start with the 2 books that I finished that wasn't part of the Owls Readathon. So the first book that I finished that I absolutely loved was The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. I loved that massive over 600 page book. It was brilliant and I would highly recommend it. It left me, I gave it 5 stars, period. It left me like through the whole story, you were like giving things, but you still couldn't figure things out because, well, what about that? What about, it was so good. It felt such a palate cleanser and it's a brilliant adult fantasy. And it's a debut. It's a debut, for crying out loud. I don't really know what to say because I absolutely adore it. And I felt it is a multiple point of view story, but the points of views are gradually introduced, and sometimes you get the point of view for someone and then okay, it was just that scene, but then they get reintroduced so that you, oh okay, it's that like the way everything was weaved, it was absolutely brilliant. And as I said, I adored it. Did it have some tropes? It had tropes because all these kind of stories do, but they weren't like, oh no, it's that trope. It had like, the thing, now this is the first book, so obviously we will not learn and figure everything out. This is a trilogy. But the things that happen and you're like, I don't think there will be an answer to this question in the second book. I have to wait to the third one, and that's even bigger. Like, my friend who I body read that book with, I think she actually is already finished with all 3 books, which kudos to her, but wow, I absolutely would highly recommend that. The second one I finished was Screenminder by Melissa Moore, and that one actually surprised me. It does have one trope that I was like, oh really, seriously? Like the whole destined to be together thing. But all in all, I liked it. I gave it 4 stars because I was really enjoying myself. It's a unique world, and yeah, it's a unique system. Like everything about it was really unique. Nothing that I have read before, and even if I had, this is from 2011, so it probably would have been before this. Yeah, I just really liked it, and there is a short story that I think was written after, but there's no other stories in this universe, which, like, first of all, kudos to Melissa Moore for not just draining a setting or like characters and stuff, but I would have loved to read about another pair of Undertaker and Greymander. I would have loved that. Or yeah, or like, just to go really big, what if this thing that led to this all of a sudden started opening up all over the world? It would have been really interesting, especially with different cultures and stuff thrown in. Yeah, I would have really liked that, but it doesn't exist. But I will actually highly recommend this. I wouldn't call this horror at all. I can understand why some people call it horror. I don't think it is. I would also call this YA, even though we have people in their like 20s. To me, this is YA, but I can also see the person who would see it as adult. Doesn't matter. I really liked it. So if you are a person who I don't know, read both horror and YA, and you want something that's a little bit more, or if you read a lot of horror. Actually, I don't know if I would recommend if you love horror. As I said, I don't feel like it was horrific or anything, but it really surprised me, and it definitely, what's the word? It surprised me. Let's just go with that one. And I gave it 4 stars. So now we have the all readathon. So I have my bullet journal here. And for Ancient Runes, I read Descender Volume 4, Orbital Mechanics. And as you can see, the stone meteoroid or asteroid thingy looks like a heart. So this is the follow-up to Singularities. And yeah, it definitely was really interested, and I liked it. It's the 5th volume, and it's the 4th volume, and yeah, I liked it. It was way better than the 3rd one, so that's really good. And we will see what happens. And just because of that, I did the prompt that I needed to change was the divination prompt, assign numbers to TBR. So I basically picked up one book, randomized one book, and I got Descender Volume 5, Rise of the Robots. And yeah, that one was really interesting. And I think like something big is happening, and it's really intriguing. So yeah, it's definitely amping up, and the last volume that I have gotten out from the library, it's way thicker than both of those were. So yeah, and there is a second, I think it's called Ascender, that's the next series. Yeah, I really, so far so good. I really liked it, and I had fun reading them. As I said, definitely better than volume 3. So, and since I don't remember the English names for these, I will just say the Swedish. So we have Ett vattentätt alibi, Diomedes hästar, and Den blå pelargonen by Agatha Christie. I read those short stories for arithmancy, astronomy, and Muggle studies. They were fine. They were nothing really special, except for the, I think it's Ett vattentätt alibi. I had actually seen the episodes on TV for the other two, and I can tell you that I felt like that was way better done. But they are short stories, and yeah, I would definitely say that if you haven't read anything from these characters' points of view before, don't read the short stories, because you will be just like, well, that's very assumptions of that person to think so, and some of it is like, really, you managed to connect those 2 dots because it wasn't even mentioned. Yeah, they were fine, but nothing like, oh, I will remember them, because I will probably more remember them for looking at the TV shows. Then we have Care of Magical Creatures, and for that my friend asked if he could buddy read Crooked Kingdom. And I said yes, the stupid bitch I am. It was really good, but it definitely also was a disappointment. Mostly because this is the end of the duology. There's no 3rd book. And there were 2 things that were introduced in this that just felt, one of them definitely felt like, why? Why is this being introduced? Because it needs to be solved before the end of the book, and we are more than halfway through the book. It didn't make sense. And then there were more and more, one more thing that just were like, was this put in just to be cool? Now, the other thing, because I will not say what it was, because that would be spoiler, that one, it might have something to do with like King of Scars and that series going forward. But again, was it just put in to be something cool? It didn't, yeah, and then it was so much filler. There were a lot of things that should have been told in the 1st book. Some of them couldn't have been told because then we would have found things out in advance, which, I mean, obviously, but there were quite a lot of things that I was like, what has that to do with anything? Like, it really felt like they were added in to increase the page count. They weren't so bad that I were like pushed out of the story as with the Gilded Rules, because they were still seamlessly woven in and it made sense. But they also felt unnecessary because this is the last book. We will not do anything with these things. It's, yeah, we get more insight into them as characters, but again, the book is the last book. Like, come on. And I also felt like, I hate having a cold, my ear starts blocking up. Like, the ending also were like, seriously, did that have to happen? It was like, oh, I forgot to do it in the first book, so I need to do it in this one. She could just have skipped it. Honestly, it would have made more fun if we could have read about that in another book, but maybe she, as in Leigh Bardugo, had already figured out what she wanted to do with King of Scars and go forward with that. Yeah, it felt a little bit meh. First I gave it 4 stars, but she was like, wait, considering how much you complained, why are you giving it 4 stars? And mostly because of the fact that I enjoyed the last 150 pages a lot. So I used the Yeast from Book Roast's compile system, and 3-star it is, so I have changed it to 3 stars. Unfortunately, it wasn't a bad ending, but it was too much filler that could have been called. And also things, especially one character was introduced that was like, why are you introduced? Actually, there were 2, but one was really like, why? Why? But yeah. Then for charms, I read My Next Life as a Villainess, All Roads Lead to Doom, Volume 2. And yeah, in this one the heroine gets introduced. And I like this. This one I felt was better than the first one. The first volume in most mangas are like more build things up. And this one definitely went in a little bit more. I really enjoyed it. I liked it. And yeah, it's one of those things when you as the reader are like, I can see things that the main character can't see, and it's kind of funny. But yeah, this is a pretty new manga series as well. The 3rd one has just come out, and I need to ask my library, request that my library buy it in. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Is it the best thing ever? No, the art style is, it's manga. It is pretty good, at least in my opinion. But yeah, nothing much to say about that one. Then for Defense Against the Dark Arts, I read Recursion by Blake Crouch. This one takes part in Manhattan, and I did not really read that. When I made my TBR, otherwise I would have put it in there immediately. This one, it was fine. I felt like this should not have been 350 pages. This would have easily been able to cut 100 pages off of it. It should have been a shorter book because there was so much filler. Part of the ending filler, if you read it, I think you know what I mean with filler. There's a thing that gets repeated, and in the end it made sense. But that huge part in the center just felt, oh, we are starting over again. Oh, we are starting over. It was very repetitive, and also it also felt like Blake Crouch felt like I need to spend, we have following 2 main characters, and it really felt like I need to spend in the beginning of the book exactly equal amounts of time with them. The answer was no. We could have focused on one and then focused on the second one in the later part, which happened. And if you really want to make everything symmetrical. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It's definitely like, I still want to read Dark Matter by him, but I'm hoping that it's better than this one. As I said, it wasn't bad, it's just not something that I probably will ever remember. Maybe if people go, oh, what has this trope, I would be able to say it, but let's face it, that would kind of be like a spoiler, especially if I mention it like this. But yeah, I don't really know what to say. It definitely let me down because considering how many people have raved about it, honestly, it could just be because of the fact that I felt like it was so fillery. That could be why I was like, seriously, why is people raving about this? But yeah, 3 stars. Then for herbology, I finished Minecraft Nybörjarens handbok. Yeah, I finished it. It's not bad, but it's definitely out of date. Like, I know that it's out of date. When was this published? 2013. Yeah, it's out of date. Like, oh, it's out of date. Look at some kind of let's play instead. But it wasn't bad. But as I said, definitely out of date. Like when you read something like this and you go, oh, but they've changed that. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this. I would recommend looking at some let's plays instead. I don't know if anyone has done an updated like beginner's guide, but they usually happen. If nothing else, Paul's vs. Junior. Let's just keep, yeah. He's part of this as well, but he has this Survive and Thrive series, and sometimes he has, at least in the past, he has done these updated how to survive the first night. So yeah, but definitely look up some let's players that have like a current season going, because if you go back 2 years, I can guarantee you, well, a lot of like the basic are the same. Some of the mechanics have definitely changed, and that's for someone who hasn't played it herself in ages, because she actually haven't installed it on this computer yet. And then for History of Magic, we have Monster Vidunda, Lexikon över världens väsen by Kristoffer Gustafsson. This was fine. This is a list book about a bunch of creatures in the world. They were not actually... Now, some of the creatures I did not recognize. Those I learned something new about, but I did not learn anything new about the ones that I already knew, like at all, which is fine because it is a list book, so you only have like, for the Minotaur, this is the part that you get, and then for the Mongolian Earthworm, Deathworm, I don't know what the English title would be, like you just get that. And one thing that I did find was pretty interesting is that when there are creatures that are similar to one another, they are added in the same one. I will not, yeah, so like you have, like these are oformliga sköldjur, basically like more like blobs, and multiple are included in this case too. I found that was pretty interesting, but I didn't really learn anything new, unfortunately, but the artwork was really beautiful. And let's be honest, the stupidly small text was really annoying, especially when you can see that there is some bare space here and there, and then all of a sudden you get to like a page like this and you're just like, oh crap. But yeah, I did really approve of the amount of snake people and things like that. How many pages that got. I approve as a Slytherin. Thank you. Then for portions, I finished Sagan om det röda äpplet by Jon Löf. This was nostalgia, and basically I picked it up because I was like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere with my owls, I need to read something. And I will give this to my niece. Yeah, this brought me back from when my grandfather used to tease me. But yeah, I liked it simple as that. And the last one for Transfiguration. That time I got reincarnated as a slime, volume 8 by Fuse and manga by Taki Kawakami. Yes. This is about a slime. That's actually, yeah, there you see. Slime. It's the same person. Yeah. I really enjoy this series and I can't wait to continue because I did take a break from it. I really like this, and it has the trope of someone dies in our world and then gets transported into another and get these powers. In this case it's game based, so people level up and stuff like that and combine spells and abilities, and yeah, I really like this and I would highly recommend to give it a try. Especially, yeah, I just like it. It's a trope I really enjoy, so yeah. So that's the 14 books for April, and I finally have finished this book, which means that I can start feeling sorry for my ankle for not having it elevated. But yeah, I'll see you next time, and hopefully it will not take this long to film. Won't give any promises though. See you next time. Bye.